hair, I forgot I'm using green screen, so my head's missing. Welcome everybody. We're doing another stream of the Star Wars book that I have right here. Here. Star Wars: The High Republic, Light of the Jedi. Oh, hold on. Light of the Jedi. Oh. Ah. So, if you don't know already, we did a chapter of this a couple days ago. Just close a few things here. I don't want to get disconnected from the stream, because that's happened a lot. But so basically we left off with if you guys don't already know, this book takes place as the time before the Phantom Menace. So before all the events of the Phantom Menace with what are they called? It's not the Old Republic. So I'm thinking it's older than the Old Republic, or maybe the Old Republic just doesn't exist in this book. Because basically this is supposed to be like its own thing. To where there's no, like, I'm assuming there's no like Sith troopers, like they're, or whatever you want to call them, the you know how, like, if you guys ever played Star Wars: The Old Republic, you'll see that the clone troopers, or whatever you want to call them, are the same as the Sith troopers, which is kind of weird. It's almost like they're, you know, like, related. But anyways, this takes place before the Phantom Menace, which means there's no separatist droids, no Nemodorians or whatever they're called. I can't remember. I don't know. I don't really get comics, but I'm thinking I should have got a comic instead of this, because this is definitely gonna take me a while to do. Over 300 pages I have to go through. Check the meme room in your Dissy. Why do you say it like that? Just say Discord. It's literally like only a couple more letters. So anyways, we have a total of 380 pages. And we are on, what's this page here? It's not telling me. 17. Okay. Alright, I'll take a quick look. I don't know why you want me to look in there for. I didn't see anything in there. You're being weird. Are you talking about the photo that my friend posted? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, man. You're being... Are you okay today? You're sick? Oh, that makes sense. You've been sick for a while. I think it's really getting to your head. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go make sure I have everything here. Just start reading the book. I'm gonna turn music down a bit so you can hear me better. Alright, right there. Okay, Alright, y'all ready for this? Bam, 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 bam. You're eating din din? Din 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 din. I did not say anything else. Okay, so she was piloting this ship and she lost control and they were in hyperspace and there was an explosion like this one here. Oh wait, what? Bruh, I hate this shit. Home. I wish I had more keys, I swear to God. Sounds. This is not working. Games, home. Next. Home. Next. Sounds. Nope. Sounds 2. Nope. I don't fucking know. It's gotta be here somewhere. How did I get to the... I don't know what you mean, man. I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about? Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm gonna go through all these buttons. So there was that. We had this. I think this is the sound I was looking for right here. Yeah, so things went kablooey because hyperdrive is supposed to set course with no obstacles, but this time it didn't. There was a big obstacle and went kaboom and people died. And that was the end of that. Word about she was a good captain though. Okay. So. Here we go. I'm gonna get up a little higher. I feel like my chair just slid down for no apparent reason. Or should I stand? What do you prefer? Oh God, I'm going out of focus now. Diggy ding, diggy diggy ding, look at me. Oh, ah. All right, we're good. Okay. Chapter 2. The Outer Rim Hetzel System. 2.5 hours to impact. Scantech, 3rd Class Mervyn. Getter was ready. Ready to clock out for the day, ready to get the shuttle back to the inner system, ready to hit the cantina a few streets away from the spaceport. On the rooted moon where Sella worked tending bar, ready to see if today was the day he might find the courage to ask her out. She was a Twi'lek, and he was a Miriela. I already said that one. A Mirialan. But what difference did it make? We are all the Republic. Chancellor So's big slogan, but people believed it. Actually, Mervyn thought he did too. Attitudes were evolving, the possibilities were endless. And maybe one of those possibilities revolved around a Scantech, 3rd class, staffed on a monitoring station far out of the ecliptic of Hetzel's system. Itself pretty blasted far out on the rim, sadly distant from the bright lights and interesting worlds of Republic core. Perhaps that Scantech 3rd class, who spent his days staring at hollow screens, logging starship traffic in and out of the system, could actually catch the eye of the lovely scarlet-skinned woman who served him up a mug of the local ale 3 or 4 nights a week. Sella usually stayed around to chat for him for a while, circling back as to other customers drifted in and out of her little tavern. She seemed to find his stories about life on the far edge of the system inexplicably interesting. Mervyn didn't get why she was so fascinated. Sometimes ships showed up in the system, popping in from hyperspace and appearing on his screens, and other times ships left. At which point, their little icons disappeared from his screens. Nothing interesting ever happened. Flight plans were logged ahead of time, so he usually knew what was coming and going. Mervyn was responsible for making sure those flight plans were followed, and not much else. On the off chance Those flight plans were followed, and not much else. Fuck, I'm getting lost. I'm sorry. The off chance something unusual occurred, his job was just to notify people significantly more important than he was. Alright, I gotta do something really quick, so I just remembered. Real quick. Post it in here. God damn it. Real quick. There's just something I forgot. What is this? Okay. Alright, cool. So, we're going back. We are at important. People significantly more important. Oh, we got an ad. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't notice, but we got an ad right now, so we'll be back in a minute, and I will continue on from there. If anybody's watching who doesn't have the ad, tell me how your day was. Or what kind of holiday plans you guys got going. Well, sure sucks. Okay. We back? Oh, almost back. Alright. Let's continue. I'm pretty sure this book got bent or something. It doesn't like... Or maybe it's just the cover is not like glued, so that's why it keeps feeling like it's come falling apart. But anyways, I'm going to continue. So I'm not sure. I think we're still on a starport or something. But anyways, Mervyn was responsible for making sure those flights were followed and not much else. On the off chance something unusual occurred, his job was just to notify people significantly more important than he was. Scan Tech. Third class. Mervyn Getter spent his days watching people go places. He, in contrast, stays still. But maybe not today. He thought about Stella. He thought about her smile, the way she decorated her Lecco. With those intricate lacings, she told him she designed herself. The way she stopped whatever she was doing to pour him his mug of ale the moment he walked in, without him even having to ask for it. Yeah, he was going to ask her to dinner. Tonight, he'd been saving up, and he knew a place not too far away from the cantina. Not so far from his place either, but that was getting ahead of himself. He just had to get through his blasted shift. Mervyn glanced over at his colleague, Scantek Second Class, Vel Karan. He wanted to ask her if he could check out a little early that day, take the shuttle back to the rooted moon. She was reading something on a datapad, her eyes rapt, probably one of the Jedi romances she had always been obsessed with. Mervyn didn't get it. He'd read a few. They were all set at outposts on the far Republic frontiers, full of unrequited love and longing glances. The only action was the lightsaber battles that were clearly a substitute for what the characters really wanted to do. Vel wasn't supposed to be reading personal material on company time, but if he called her out on it, she'd just tap the screen and switch it to a technical manual and insist that she wasn't doing anything wrong. The trouble was, she second class, and he was the third class, which meant that as long as he did his job, she thought she didn't have to do hers. Nah, not even worth asking for an early sign-off time. Not from Vel. He could get through the rest of his shift, not long, and something appeared on one of his screens. Huh? Mervyn said. That was odd. Nothing was scheduled to enter the system for another 20 minutes or so. Something else appeared. A number of somethings. 10. What the? Mervyn said. Problem getter? Vel asked, not glancing up from her screen. I'm not sure, he said. Got a bunch of unscheduled entries to the system, and they're not decelerating. Wait, what? Vel said, setting down her data screen and finally looking at her own monitors. Oh, that is odd. More icons popped up on Mervyn's screen, too many to count at a glance. Is this... Do you think it's... asteroids? Maybe? Vel said, her voice unsteady. At that velocity? From hyperspace? I don't know. Run an analysis, Mervyn said. See if you can figure out what they are. Silence from Vel's station. Mervyn glanced up. I don't know. She said. After the latest upgrade, I never bothered to learn the systems. You seem to have it all under control. And I'm really here to supervise, and... Fine, he said, utterly unsurprised. Can you track trajectories, at least? That subroutine's been for like 2 years. Yeah, I could do that, she said. Mervyn turned back to his screens and started typing commands across his keypads. There were now 42 anomalies in the system, all moving at a velocity near light speed, incredibly fast. In other words, much quicker than safety regulations allowed. If they were in fact ships, whoever was piloting them was in for a massive fine. But Mervyn didn't think they were ships. They were too small, for one thing, and didn't have drive signatures. Asteroids, maybe? Space rocks? Somehow thrown into the system? Some kind of weird space storm. A comet swarm? It could be an attack, that much he knew. The Republic was at peace, and looked like it was going to stay that way. Everyone was happy, living their lives. The Republic worked. Besides, the Hetzel system didn't have anything worth attacking. It was just an ordinary set of planets. The Prime World was in the 2 inhabited moons, the fruited and rooted, with a deep focus on agriculture. It has some gas giants and frozen balls of rock. But really, it was just a lot of farmers and all the things they grew. Mervyn knew it was important that Hetzel exported food all over the Outer Rim, and some of its output even found its way to the inner systems. There was that Bacta stuff he'd been reading about, too. Some kind of miracle replacement for Juvan. And they were trying to grow on the Prime World, supposed to revolutionize medicine if they could ever figure out how to farm it in volume. But still, it was just plants. It was hard to get excited about plants. That's funny. As far as he was concerned, Hetzel's biggest claim to fame was that it was the homeworld of the famous Gill singer Illuria Days, who could vibrate her vocal apparatus in such a way to sing melodies in 6-part harmony. That, in combination with a uniquely appealing wit and rags to riches backstory, had made her famous across the Republic, but Illuria wasn't even here. She lived on Alderaan now, with the fancy people. Yeah. Hetzel had nothing of any real value. None of this made sense. Another rash of objects appeared on his screen, so many now that it was overloading to his computer ability to track them. He zoomed out. He zoomed out the resolution, shifting to a system-wide view, making a clearer picture. Mervyn could see that the things, whatever they might be, were not restricting themselves to entering the system from the safety of the hyperspace access zone. They were popping up everywhere, and some were getting awfully close to... "Oh no," Bell said. "I see it too," Mervyn said. He didn't even have to run a trajectory analysis. The anomalies were headed sunward, and many of them were on the intercept courses with the inhabited worlds and their orbital stations. The things weren't slowing down. Either. Not at all. At near light speed, it didn't matter whether they were asteroids or ships or frothy bubbles of fizz candy. Whatever they hit would just go. As he watched one of the objects smash through an uncrewed communication satellite, both the anomaly and the satellite vanished from his screen. And the galaxy got itself a little more space dust. Hetzel Prime was big enough that it could endure a few impacts like that and survive as a planetary body. Even the 2 inhabited moons might be able to take a couple of hits. But anything living on them? Sela was on the rooted moon right now. "We have to get out of here," he said. "We're right in the target zone. And more of those things are appearing every second. We have to get the shuttle." "I agree," Vel said, some semblance of command returning to her voice. "But we need to set a system-wide alert first. We have to..." Mervyn closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "You're right, of course. The computer needs authorization, codes from both of us to activate the system-wide alarm," Bell said. "We'll do it on my signal." She tapped a few commands on her keypad. Mervyn did the same, then waited for her nod. She gave it and he typed in his code. A soft, chiming alarm to the operations deck that the message went out. Mervyn knew that a similar sound was now being heard across the Hetzel system, from the cockpits of garbage scows all the way to the minister's palace on Prime World. 40 billion people just looked up in fear. One of them was a lovely scarlet-skinned Twi'lek, probably wondering where her favorite Miralian was going to come by the tavern that evening. Mervyn stood up. "We've done our job. Shuttle time. You can send a message explaining what's happening on the way." Vel nodded and levered herself up out of her scat. "Yeah, let's get out of..." One of the objects leaped out of the hyperspace so near and moving so fast in astronomical terms, and the moment was on them the moment it appeared. I don't have any, whoosh sounds. A gout of flame and the anomaly vanished, along with the monitoring station, its 2 Scantechs, all their goals, fears, skills, hopes, and dreams. The kinetic energy on the object atomizing everything it touched in less than an instant. Well, that's chapter 2. How much time we got? Let's say we have at least 20 minutes. So we're going to move on to chapter 3 if you guys are alright. So we're Hetzel Prime. I gotta look that up and see what it looks like. I want to see if there's what type of, if it's a planet or if it's a, let's see, Hetzel Prime. Hetzel Prime is believed is a is a planet? We're gonna go with that. Alright. So that's where this comes in. Woo! And what's this one here? Okay, I'll do this one. Alright. Chapter 3. Aguirre City, Hetzel Prime. 2 hours to impact. Is this real? Minister Eka asked as the chimes rang through his office. Consistent, insistent, impossible to ignore, which he supposed was the point. Seems so, Counselor Dan answered, tucking a curl of hair behind his ear. The alert originated from the monitoring station at the far edge of the system. It came in the highest priority level, and it hit system-wide. Every computer linked to the main processing core is sounding the same alarm. But causing it? The minister asked. There was no message attached? No, Dan replied. We've repeatedly asked for the clarification, but there's been no response. We believe the monitoring station was destroyed. Minister Eka thought for a moment. He rotated his chair away from his advisors, the old wood creaking a little beneath his weight. He looked out through the broad picture window that made up all the wall behind his desk. As far as he could see, the golden fields of Hetzel all the way to the horizon. The world, the whole system, really believed in using every bit of available space to grow, create, and to cultivate. Buildings were roofed with cropland rivers, and lakes were used to grow helpful algae and water weeds. Towers were terraced, with fruit vines spilling from their sides. Harvest droids floated among them, plucking ripe fruits, whatever was in season. Right now, that would be honey fruit, kingberries, and ice melons. In a month, it would be something else. On Hetzel, something was always in season. He loved his view, the most peaceful in the galaxy. He believed everything should just go. Productive and correct. Now, with the alarm chimes ringing in his ears, it didn't look like that anymore. Now it all just looked fragile. Something's happening out there, another advisor said. A devouring woman named Zaffa. I don't know, my eyes hurt. It's kind of weird. Eka had known her for a long time. And this was the first time he'd ever hear her sound worried. She was staring down at the data screen, frowning. A mining out rig in mid-system just went down. Zaffa said. Oh, she said that. Okay, a mining rig out in the mid-system just went down, Zaffa said. The satellite network's starting to show holes too. It looks like something's taking out facilities by one. We still don't have any images? This is madness, Eka declared. He pointed at the security chief, a portly middle-aged human. Borda, why don't you know your people? Why don't your people know what's happening? Borda frowned. Minister, respectfully, you know why. Your recent cuts have reduced the Hetzel Security Division to 1/10 of its former size. We're working on it, but we can't bring much to bear. Is this some sort of natural anomaly? It can't be. We're not under attack, are we? At this point, we don't know what's happening, and this is consistent with some sort of enemy infiltration, but we're not seeing drive signatures, and the locations being hit are pretty random. We do have some orbital defense platforms out there, and they're all intact. Right, next page. If it's an attack, they should be targeting our ability to strike back, but they're not. The chime sounded again, and Eka spun his chair and pointed at the counselor Dan, who cringed back. Will you turn off that blasted alarm? I can't think! Dan pulled himself up, standing a little straighter, and tapped the control on his data screen. The chimes blessedly ceased. Another advisor spoke up. A slim young man with the red hair and extremely pale skin, Kevin Tarr. The Ministry of Technology had sent him over. Eka didn't have much use for his tech, but that was already related to agricultural yields. In his heart, he was still a farmer. But he knew Tarr was supposed to be very smart. Probably wouldn't be long until the boy moved on. Found himself a job in some more sophisticated part of the galaxy. It was the way of things on a world like Hetzel. Not everyone stayed. I think I can show you what's going on, Minister, Tarr said. The man had long fingers for a human, and they danced over his data pad. Let me give the data of the droid. Oh god, I don't like the sound of that. Long fingers. It can project the information so we can all see. He tapped few last commands, then unreeled the connection wire from his datapad and plugged it into the access port on the squad. Hexagonal comms droid waiting in the corner of the room. It rolled forward, its single green eye lighting up as it moved. From that eye, the machine projected an image on the large wall in the minister's office reserved for the purpose. Normally, presentations on the vid wall would be concerned with crop yields or pest eradication programs. Now, though, it displayed the entire Hetzel's system, all of its worlds and stations and satellites and platforms and vessels. And something else. To Minister Eka, it looked like a field overrun with a swarm of all its consuming insects. Hundreds of tiny lights moved throughout the system. His system, at what it had to be in tremendous speed, all in the same direction. Huh? Oh, I didn't change it. Fuck. Really? Well, it's changed. Really? Oh, yeah. Well, we're gonna be playing Fallout later. Yeah, we're gonna be playing Fallout later, like in the next couple hours. So that's why it's like that, instead of having to change it twice. Yeah, it's a community challenge, so I don't expect many people to like jump in because someone's reading a book. All right, where was I? I forget where I am now. Oh, God. One sec. I think we're at something about lights. Normally, display vessels on the world. Minister Eka looked like a field overrun with a swarm of all-consuming insects. Hundreds of tiny lights moved through this system at what had to be the tremendous speed, all in the same direction. I'm gonna, you know what? Just so then people aren't confused. Star Wars, then there. Alright, so hundreds of tiny lights moved from the system at what had to be the tremendous speed, all in the same direction. Sunward, more particularly planetward, toward Hetzel Prime and the moons, fruited and rooted, not so far away, not to mention all those satellite stations, satellites, platforms, vessels, many of which had people on them. What are they? He asked. Unknown, Tar responded. I got this image by linking together signals from the surviving satellites and monitoring stations. But they're going down quickly, and we're losing sensor capacity as they do. Whatever these anomalies are, they're moving at near light speed, and it's very difficult to track them. And of course, whenever they hit something, it's not good, General Borda finished for him. Apocalyptic, I was going to say. I'm tracking a good number on an impact pass with the Prime World. Is there nothing to be done? Eka said, looking at Borda. Can we shoot them down? Borda gave him a helpless look. Once, maybe, we'd have to had a chance, at least some. But defense hasn't been a priority here for a long time.
I'm right.
The accusations hung in the air, but Eka did not indulge it. He had made decisions that seemed correct at the time, but with best information he had, they were at peace. Everywhere was at peace. Why waste money that could help people in other ways? In any case, no looking back. Oh, I read that wrong. Help people in other ways. Alright. Well, no looking back. It was time for another decision. The best one he could make. He did not hesitate. When the crops were burning, you couldn't hesitate. As bad as things might be, the longer you waited, the worse they tended to get. Give the evacuation order, system-wide, then send a message to the Coruscant. Let them know what's happening. They won't be able to get anyone here in time, but at least they'll know. Counselor Zaffa looked at him, her eyes hooded. I don't know if we can actually implement that order effectively, Minister, she said. We don't have enough ships here for planetary. For planetary evacuations. And if these things are really moving close to the light speed, there isn't much time until... I understand, Counselor Zaffa, Eka said, but with his voice steady now. But even if the order saves just one person, then one person will be saved. Zaffa nodded and tapped her data screen. It's done, she said, system-wide evac in progress. The group watched the projection on the wall. Fritzes of static lane lancing through it now. TAR's makeshift network was losing capacity as more satellites met fiery ends, but the message was still clear. It was like a massive gun that had been fired at the Hetzel system, and there was nothing they could do to save themselves. Should probably all try to find yourselves a way off-world, Eka said. I imagine the starships we do have will be very full quite quickly. No one moved. What will you do, Minister? Counselor Dan asked. Eka turned back to his window, looking out the fields, golden to the horizon. It was so peaceful, impossible to believe anything bad could ever happen here. I think I'll stay, he said. Broadcast to the people, maybe try to keep folks calm. Someone has to look after the harvest. Across Hetzel Prime and the broad expanse of its 2 inhabited moons, the message of Minister Eka traveled rapidly, appearing on datapads and hollow screens. Broadcast across all communication channels, saying in essence, nowhere is safe. Get as far away as you can. Explanation was limited, which caused speculation. What was happening? Some kind of accident? What disaster could be so huge in the scope that an entire system needed to be evacuated? Some people ignored the warning. False alarms had happened before, and sometimes slicers pulled pranks or showed off by breaking into emergency alert computer systems. True, nothing had ever happened on this scale, but really, that made it easier to dismiss the whole thing. After all, the entire system in danger? It wasn't possible. Those people stayed in their homes, at their workplaces. They turned off their screens and got back to their lives. Because it was better than the alternative. If they glanced to the skies from time to time and saw starships heading up and out, well, they told themselves the people in those ships were fools, easily spooked. Others elsewhere froze. They wanted to find safety, but had no idea how. Not everyone had access to a way off world. In fact, mostly did not. Hetzel was a system of farmers, people who lived close to the land. If they traveled anywhere else in the Republic, it was for a special occasion. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now, being told to find a way to space on a moment's notice? How? How could they possibly do such a thing? But some people in Hetzel did have starships, or lived in the cities where space travel was more common. They found their children, gathered their treasures, and raced to the spaceports, hoping they would be the first to arrive and the first to book passage. They inevitably were not greeted. They were greeted by crowds, queues, tickets prices spiking to the unattainable levels for all but the wealthiest. Thanks to the unscrupulous opportunists, tension rose. Fights broke out, and while Hetzel did have a security force to calm these squabbles, these officers also eyed the skies and wondered if they could spend their last moments alive trying to help other people to safety. A noble end, if so. But desirable one? The security officers were people too, with families of their own. Order began to break down. On the rooted moon, a kind trader decided to open the doors of the starship he used to transport the exceedingly fresh produce of all the moon to the voracious worlds of the outer rim. He offered space to all who could possibly fit. And though his pilot told him the vessel was I should be ready before that happens. Told him the vessel was old and the engineers were a bit past their prime. Trader did not care. This was a moment for a magnanimity and hope, and by the light he could save as many as he could. The ship, holding 582 people, including the trader and his own family, managed to take off from the landing pad. Once the pilot pushed its engines to a maximum, it needed to escape the moon's gravity well. Once they were in space, everything would get easier. They could get away to safety. The vessel achieved most of the kilometer before the overtaxed engines exploded. The fireball rained down there over those left behind, and they were not sure whether they were lucky or not, considering they still had no idea what was coming for them. Minister Ekka's message did not say. A variant on that message was sent out from the Hetzel to any other systems or ships that might hear it. We are in desperate trouble. Send aid if you can. It was picked up by the receivers in other worlds of the Outer Rim. Abdalis, Mon Cala, Eridu, and many more, spreading outward to via the Republic's relay system, and then inward to the planets of the Mid and Inner Rims, the colonies region, and even Shining Core. Virtually everyone who had heard it wanted to do something to help, but what? It was clear that whatever was happening in the Hetzel would be over well before they arrived. But ships were sent anyway, mostly medical and vessels, in the hope that they might be able to offer treatment to injured citizens of Hetzel, if any survived. Get to your nearest off-world transport facility, Minister Ekka said to a cam droid, recording his words and image and broadcasting them across the system. We will send ships to pick up people who don't have other ways to leave the planet. It might take time, but stay calm and peaceful. You have my word, we will come for you. We are all the same crop, party stock. We will survive this way, the way we have survived harsh winters and dry summers, by pulling together. We are Hetzel. We are Republic. All the Republic. He raised a hand and then the cam droid ceased transmitting. This was the fourth message he had sent since the emergency began, and he hoped this communications were doing some good. Reports suggested they were not. Riots were beginning at the spaceports on all three inhabited worlds. But what else could they do? He broadcast his messages from his office in the Aguar city, demonstrating that he had not abandoned his people, even though he surely could. A show of solidarity. Not much, but something. Around him, the rest of his staff coordinated their own attempts to assist in whatever they could. General Borda worked with his manager security fleet to keep both order and ferry people off planet. With the help of Counselor Dan, they had organized a number of huge crop freighters currently in transit to act as relay points, ordering them to dump their cargo and clear all space for incoming refugees. Each could hold tens of thousands of people, not comfortably, of course, but this was not a situation where comfort mattered. Smaller ships were ferrying Hetzalians up to the cargo vessels, offloading their people, then rushing back to pick up more. It was an imperfect system, but it was what they had been able to arrange on no notice. There was no plan for something like this. No. Oh wait, Minister Ekka blamed himself for that, and how could he have known? This was wasn't supposed to happen. It was impossible. Whatever it was, he was just a farmer, after all, and no. He thought, suddenly ashamed of himself, he was a minister. Zephyrin Ekka, leader of the whole blasted system. It didn't matter if he couldn't have anticipated this disaster, it was happening, and he needed to do everything he could. As he considered that thought, he looked over at Kevin Tarr. Kevin Tarr, who had never stopped running in his little network, trying to keep information flowing. The young man was now working with 3 separate data pads, and a number of comm droids projecting his various displays on the walls, pulling in as much data as he could about the scope of the disaster that continued to wreak havoc in the system. He still had no real answers, other than to continually confirm that Hetzel was being savaged by whatever was afflicting the system. Satellites, arrays, stations smashed apart by the storm of death that had come calling. It was like the seasonal chew fly swarms that used to plague the fruited moon until they had been genetically modified out of existence. If the swarm came, there was nothing you could do. You hunkered down, survived, and sowed your fields once again until it was all done. Eka watched as Kevin Tarr wiped the sweat from his eyes, then looked back at his main data pad, the one he had propped up on the little side table he was using as a desk. Tarr's eyes widened, and his fingers froze, hovering over the screen. "Minister," he said, I'm getting a signal. I'm getting a signal. What signal?" Eka said. I'll just put it through," Tarr said, and there was an odd note in his voice of surprise. Or just something unexpected. Words crackled into the air, and one of the technician's comm droids were broadcasting the message out into the Minister Eka's office. A woman's voice, just a few words, but they brought them with, yes, the most needed at that moment. "This is Jedi Master Avar Kriss. Help is on the way." That one thing. Hope. That is the end of chapter 3. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to move on to some Fallout 76. That was like, oh, that was pretty cool. I actually felt like I got in the moment there. All right, now I'm gonna put local vault boy there. I'm gonna take this off because it doesn't really show up on screen. I'm gonna put this on instead. Woo! Now where's my headphone? I lost my headphones. Oh, they're on the floor. Oh yeah, if you didn't notice, I cut my hair. So not that bad. I'm not really sure what's going on here though.
I have to sort this out on my own. Without the council. And without you.
How was that? You guys like that? You guys want to come back for more? Do you want more of it? I think like... So that's 3 chapters. I'm going to show you where the paper is in the book now. Wait, can I just take this off? There's nothing underneath. Rip. Alright, well anyways.
I can't stay here any longer.
That's how much we have. So we're only read I think 8 pages. Maybe a little bit longer.